Yes, and speaking of that, right now I have that Ron Jeremy look with the crazy sideburns and the hair and the mustache. But when I first got back in 2011, I had three different stints of acting. The first one was 1988 through 94. And then I got out because I was like, I got to get a real job. It's working. And I became a software engineer for my whole career. Then in 2001 through 2003, I said, let me try to get back in again. I tried. It didn't work out again. Just small stuff, nothing big. Then I forgot all about it. I was like, okay, I'm done with the movie business. 2004, I'm just going to stay in software and just forget about it. Until 2011 happened, and I went to a party, and I ran into this lady suddenly that said, oh, I was talking about movie stuff. And she goes, oh, you used to be an actress? Yeah, but it didn't work out years ago. I'm an agent. She said, I can help you get going nowadays. I was like, oh, get out of here. Like I just wasn't even there mentally. And she's like, no, no, let's try it. So, okay. So I got the pictures taken and signed up with her, and sure enough, suddenly within like a week, she suddenly says, "Okay, you got to go out to an audition for a Progressive commercial." What? So suddenly, I realized she was completely legit, which I had suspected. You know what I mean? But I wasn't planning on it. So suddenly, I found myself going out on auditions suddenly for a big project, and I was like, "Okay, let's try it again." And that's when I kind of had an epiphany where you can't put timetables on success of how well you're going to do. A lot of people do that, especially when they're brand new. They come out and say, "Well, the same thing I had done." Well, I'm going to try it for 2 or 3 years. If it doesn't work, I'll just get out of it and forget all about it, which is what most people do. But in reality, the way it works is you kind of just got to stay in it as long as you can. If you're happy getting small parts here and there or big parts, whatever, you just have to be happy just being able to be a working actor, whether you're being a small part or a one-line part or no lines, or a bit part, or maybe a big part where you have a lot of dialogue in the movie. Either way, you just have to be happy, kind of staying involved, and just that's your level of happiness and contentment in the business. Without saying, "Oh no, I need to be super famous or I need to be a big star of my own movies or something in the next 2 3 years," because it just doesn't work that way. You just have to have that kind of attitude and contentment that that's okay to work whenever you can, and that's just the way it's going to be. The way I found out the most successful, healthy attitude about it.
I'm glad you brought that up because one of the questions I had was, what's it been like doing all these extra roles, these bit parts for decades and decades? And it sounds to me like you've learned and your opinion might have evolved over the years of doing it. And at this point, you're just happy to be there. You love doing it and you just like being involved in this field of passion that you have. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Exactly. It just sort of evolved over time because when you're younger, you start to put time frames on things because it only makes sense to do that. Like, okay, well, I got to have a real job or something. You can't make enough money in the movie business, even if you're just trying to do background work alone. That alone is, even if I tried, you know what I mean? Like, I used to have friends that would say that they couldn't even get arrested, whatever. They would be trying constantly to get parts, standing in for all kinds of jobs and not get anything. In fact, I used to have a friend, an older guy at the time, back in 1988. I was 18 and 88. And this friend of mine at the time, he was 40 years old. And real quick with him, in his normal life, he used to be like a nuclear power engineer or something like that with the nuclear industry, like in the East Coast, in New Jersey, had a whole full career. And then one day at 40 years old, he suddenly said, you know what? I think I'm going to go to Hollywood and become an actor. And he gave up his career and he saved up like a few $100,000, moved to LA, moved to Burbank into the complex where I lived at 1988. That's where I met him when I was 18. He was 40. He started in trying to get parts and he ended up getting a lot of student films and little low budget parts. He was doing better than me at the time because I couldn't get arrested when I was 18, really, except for little tiny like student films. But at least my friend Jerry, his name was Jerry. Jerry was getting he would get cast in like low budget B movies at the time, playing like the police captain. It would say, damn it, shotgun, you can't go running around shooting up the town. The DA's on my ass over this. Blah, blah, blah. We got to go get that serial killer off the street. That kind of part. So he would get those kind of parts. But even then, he would get frustrated too because it was few and far between. And eventually, he would work for a few years and then suddenly he'd have to stop and go back to New Jersey and become a nuclear engineer again for like another 3 or 4 years, save up more money, come back out again. Similar to me, where you had like different stints, where you try to come back and do it again. But in his case, after a few times, he just kind of gave up and stopped doing it. And I tried to get him reactivated again when I talked to him back around 2011, but he thought he was too old at the time because he was significantly a gauge gap between me and. So it just sort of happens. Sometimes you just can't get arrested. Even if I want to do an extra part, the last one I got it's been months, really. I mean, they send in to me a lot of times. They'll send me jobs every few days and say, hey, are you available for this job? And I'll say yes. And it says, okay, thanks, but this is not a guarantee. We're just checking, okay. And then you don't hear anything. You don't get it. So they're few and far between, even just for a little simple background job. It's hard to get. Once in a while, some people can work regularly, but you just have to have the luck of the draw. So sometimes you can suddenly get super lucky and hit it big. So for example, back in 88, 89, 1990, I was 20 years old and I went on an open casting call for some show or something for actors. They had like 400 guys standing in line outside the studio. Everyone, habada, 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 habada. And it just happened to be right in front of me. Habada, habada, habada was this young kid. His name was Chris. He looked like a young Tom Cruise. He was like early 20s, good looking kid, long hair, muscular, right? And we became friends. This is back in 1990. There's no cell phones. There's nothing, regular phone lines and pagers. And then neither one of us got that job. But he ended up getting cast in some sort of an NBC show, which nobody's ever heard of. It's called The Guys Next Door. And it went on for 2 years. It was a Saturday morning show. It was like 5 guys. They were supposed to be like a New Kids on the Block type of band. And then it was like a Saturday morning show where they would do skits and comedic things like that. So he suddenly got cast in that. And then suddenly got the money. He suddenly got the car, he got the Corvette. He moved into the apartment complex, the same one that I was at the time, and had a great success there. Suddenly went on for like 2 years. He would get fan mail like back then. Once again, there's no internet, no email. So I went into his apartment once and there was like bags of like these giant bags, like trash bag sized bags. What is it? I said, what is that? He goes, it's fan mail. I said, really? He goes, yeah. All these people send into the show. He goes, look at some of them. So we opened up with some of them. There's these letters from girls, of course. And, oh, hey, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they would say things like, call me. So he said, do you want to call one of them? I said, okay, let's call him. So he calls one. He goes, hi, this is Sally. She's like, yeah. He goes, hi, this is Chris from The Guys Next Door. She's like, what? And they were like talking. He had the whole success, but then the show got canceled after a couple of years. And then suddenly he couldn't get anything else. And he eventually he just decided to give up on everything and just move back to like Oregon. And he became like a construction worker or something like for the rest of his career. So even if you have massive success, it doesn't guarantee that it's going to stay. You know what I mean? Or that you're going to want to.
So much success in the entertainment industry, it's not necessarily tied to your skill. It's tied to some things that are within your control, like your talent, your sense of presence, your ability to deliver lines, ability to memorize lines, and to show up when you're supposed to. But so much of it's outside of your control, like your looks. You can't change how you were born and how you look. You got the face structure you got, and if you do surgeries, you start looking weird. And then, did you sleep with the right person? Did the marketing team know what to do with the product you were actually got into? Because over the past couple of years, the number of movies that absolutely bombed, but when I saw them, they were brilliant. I mean, it's more than what I can count on 2 hands. And I feel so awful because these were people at the top of their craft, really delivering, and the marketing guys didn't know what to do, so no one saw it. And that's a travesty. And you never know when lightning is going to strike and if it's going to strike where you're at. Same thing in the writing industry. The publishers invest so little in their people. The only marketing you're going to get is basically what you do on your own. They don't really give advances like they used to. So where's the money at? And just the statistics of the numbers of books that sell more than 1,000 copies a year, it is stacked against almost all the books that are out there. In the past, these figures, like the casting agents and these publishers, their editors, their agents, they were gatekeepers to the industry. And if you could get in, maybe you'd get lucky, maybe you wouldn't. But if you wanted the heights of success, you had to go through them because they controlled the printers, they controlled the cameras, they controlled the studios. But today, what do they really have to offer? Because you could grab your phone, go out and film a 5-second goofy video and get 20 million views. And that's more views than an agent might ever get you, and more YouTube revenue than an agent might ever be able to get you. So you don't need them. And in publishing, self-publishing options, small press options these days, they're far more viable than they were in the past. If I put out a short story or a video of my own, I can guarantee it's going to be what I want it to be. I don't have to compromise my artistic vision for somebody who would probably try to gut it. Actually, I have had that happen where they gutted a short story that I did. They took out the most gut punch part of it. It's okay. I got the rights to it now. I can do whatever I want to with it because they thought it was too raw. Well, I mean, that's what the story is. And what are they going to give you in return? It's kind of like making a deal with the devil. They offer you stuff, but is it going to be worth the cost to you? I don't know.
Right.
So it's encouraging that we have the freedom to do this interview right now. No one's stopping us from doing it. We have the equipment. We have the means, just a little bit of learning. We can make this happen. The videos that I put up, with some free but powerful editing software, I make it look like it's part of a 70s movie, which is an aesthetic
Yeah,
that I love.
I
And
noticed that with the dust and scratches. Yeah.
yeah, so it's a great
What
time to be
software are you
creating.
using? What software are you using?
DaVinci Resolve. I'll be glad to post the link to where you get that in the comments. And believe me, when I make enough money off of the ad revenue, I will buy the official version, but it's fully legal for me to have the version that they gave me.
Easy to learn or not?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
very easy.
Because I've been using like Clipchamp, just the Microsoft one. It's just too short.
Oh, your videos have looked good. The ones I've seen, they've all
I
looked good.
just string them together. Yeah. But yes, exactly. I'm on the gatekeeping thing right now. Yes, absolutely. With doing your own thing, getting it out there, 100%. The only things right now that the kind of the gatekeepers still have, as far as the agencies are concerned, like Hollywood agents and things like that, is they still have access to what's called the breakdown. And what the breakdowns are is that's all the major studio productions that are going on. All the major studio production that casting notices that come out onto the wire that only the agents see. And then the agents are the ones that says, oh, looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger is doing this new action movie and they need this sleazy guy to be the strip club owner or something. Well, let's send in Mark, let's send in Joey, let's send in Billy, let's send in these 1,000 people, you know what I mean? Submit their pictures to this studio film. And then that's kind of the barrier to entry where they still operate as far as that level versus, well, nowadays there's another level now that's lower than that we have access to independently as actors. You don't get access to the main breakdowns, but you get access to like the more subset of even the more B movie level stuff where we can actually see those breakdowns now and send in from ourselves. So I can see suddenly, oh, Warner Brothers is doing a music video. I don't know who the star is, but I send in for it, suddenly it's Kesha, you know what I mean, or something like that. You go through an audition, get cast.